Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to go through Qualcomm's most recent quarterly earnings conference call to try and decipher what's going on with Qualcomm stock. So let's get right into it. President and CEO Cristiano Amon opens with saying, "We remain focused on continuing to transition Qualcomm from a wireless communications company for the mobile industry to a connected processor company for the intelligent edge, powering the billions of smart connected devices." And that's a secular tailwind that's going to fuel Qualcomm's growth for the foreseeable future. So many more devices are getting connected to the internet nowadays, in addition to just mobile phones, that as it transitions into being the connected processor company, that's going to fuel growth for it for the oncoming decade, in my opinion. Uh, Cristiano goes on to say the semiconductor industry is being impacted by significant macroeconomic headwinds and short term challenges from which we are not immune. That's true. The semiconductor industry is facing major inventory gluts right now. The industry's overinvested in inventories to counter some shortages they had earlier in the pandemic, and they over invested, they over corrected for that shortage, and so now they're going to need to pause before replenishing that inventory, and that's going to be a headwind for Qualcomm. Still, for fiscal year 2022, they achieved revenues of 44 billion, which were up 30%, 32% year over year. Very solid growth for the year. In handsets, we entered into a new multi-year agreement with Samsung, expanding the use of Snapdragon platforms for future premium Samsung Galaxy products globally. That's an exciting deal. Samsung Galaxy is one of the more popular smartphones in the market, and so locking in that deal for the long term, multiple years, is good news for Qualcomm. In automotive, the design win pipeline across connectivity, digital cockpit, and ADAS is now greater than 30 billion. That firmly establishes Qualcomm as a key strategic and technology partner for the automotive industry, which is going to be one of the primary drivers of growth for the semiconductor industry over the next 5, 10, and 20 years, because the usage of semiconductors in cars is expanding exponentially, and so to establish itself in a presence in that industry is great news for Qualcomm investors. We also announced a multi-year agreement with Meta, of course, Meta Platforms, to develop premium virtual reality and mixed reality experiences. That's another area of potential growth. Of course, if you've been following Meta, you'll know that the company is investing tens of billions of dollars to develop its virtual reality platform to become a metaverse business, and connecting with them, being a supplier to Meta Platforms, is going to be great news for Qualcomm over the next few years. And if it can actually deepen that relationship with Meta, it could prove to be lucrative going forward. In licensing, we extended our agreement with Samsung through 2030. Another strategic partner. Extending that relationship with Samsung is good news for Qualcomm. As we look into fiscal year 2023, further deterioration of the macroeconomic environment and extended China COVID restrictions have resulted in demand weakness and temporary elevated channel inventory across the industry. Of course, this conference call was held on November 2nd, before really the momentum gained of China's economic reopening. So it'll be interesting to see how China's reopening will impact the chip demand and ultimately Qualcomm's demand going forward. To that end, we're being very disciplined in managing operating expenses while optimizing our research and development investments to prudently focus on growth within automotive and the Internet of Things. These are two areas that are still growing rapidly. We've already implemented a hiring freeze, and we've planned spending reductions across our mature product areas and selling, general, and administrative to fund our diversification. We're continuing to evaluate additional actions we are prepared and committed to making further reductions to operating expenses as needed. So I like to see this from management. They've taken steps to reduce costs to match with the slowing macroeconomic environment. They're not just spending without abandon. They're realizing what's going on in the macro environment and they're adjusting their expenses. That's good news. Beyond 2023, we see a number of strategic growth initiatives increasing in scale. We anticipate automotive revenues will grow. Yeah, that's going to be a growth industry for them. 5G wireless fiber presents significant opportunities in regions such as India with a population over 1 billion people and other developing economies that have just started to deploy 5G networks. So 5G is just in its infancy. It's only just getting off the ground, and the growth of 5G across the world is going to be a driver for Qualcomm. And I'll end with this final. We remain on track to expand our addressable market by more than 7x to approximately 700 billion in the next decade and firmly establish Qualcomm as the connected processor company for the intelligent edge. So, what's the takeaway here? Despite the near term headwinds in the semiconductor industry that's impacting Qualcomm, longer term there are secular tailwinds that are going to continue to lift the company higher in terms of top line growth. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that's kind of uh, highlighted some of the insights into what's going on with Qualcomm. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.